What is up, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends and enemies alike? I want to talk for a few minutes today about something I see that is happening more and more. And before a lot of you really get caught up in doing this, I want to kind of challenge you with some thoughts. All right. When you try to think for yourself, what you do two things. You don't get caught up in trends, and you take a step back and you analyze or consider what people are doing and saying before you formulate your opinion about it. And I'm going to get to why I said that in a minute. But I'll begin by saying something that we all know, and that is you really cannot live your life in the past. You can't remain stuck in your childhood or your adolescence or your first marriage, second marriage, third marriage, or whatever traumatic event happened to you. Even if your traumatic event was going to war, all of us have a responsibility to ourselves primarily, but also to those around us that love us and are connected to us to get past the past. Now, I'm going to say some things today that some people may respond by calling me insensitive, dismissive, cold, abrasive, arrogant. Save it, because I've been called that and much worse from people I actually care about. So, responding with that stuff today is really a waste of time. I would love to engage in conversation and even debate as long as it's fruitful and meaningful. But let me let me continue. All right. One of the things I see is that people behave in certain ways, and when they are confronted about their behavior or patterns that you see in bad decision making or even avoidance, the first thing they do is point to what happened to them. Sometimes this is 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Sometimes a person is in their 40s and this happened when they were in elementary school. And my first question is, how long are you going to live your life looking backwards and allowing what happened to you to continue to define you and keep you in a state of immaturity? Because that's what it is. When you behave a certain way, you act out a certain way, and you consciously, knowingly, when confronted with what you did, point your finger back and say, well, you don't understand. My first marriage, this happened. Or when I was a kid, this happened. And you use that as a crutch or a way to explain why you are 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years later, my friend, you have decided to stay there and use what happened to you to define who you are. Now, I'm not here to beat you up, but I'm here to tell you that you were not created and put on this earth and given the strength and the ability to endure what happened just to spend your life emotionally limping around, pointing to what happened to you as a way to explain who you are. You are not your trauma. You are not your pain. You are not your past. And I'm here to say this: it doesn't matter what happened to you. You were never intended to live your life like that. Never intended to live your life like that. But some people, and I'm going to discuss why, but some people choose to live that way. When you have a conversation with them of any significant amount of time, what happened to them is always going to come up. And that person has decided to live in the past. They have refused to let that poison go. Well, Ramon, why aren't you more sympathetic? Listen, sometimes sympathy is the worst thing you can give someone. And self-pity is the worst thing you can ever administer to yourself. Self-pity never helped anyone do anything. And for so many of you, it's time to let that go. You were never intended to be defined by your childhood, by your adolescence, by what happened to you in college, by your first, second, or third marriage. Let that stuff go. Now, as a person who endured a whole lot during his childhood, and I mean a lot, and I'm not here to get the violence going and getting you guys feeling sorry for me. I'm not going to go down that road. I know how bad it can be. And I know if you allow it, it can ruin your whole outlook and color the lenses of your perspective to where everything and everybody is filtered by what you went through. But that's no excuse. No excuse at all. Let me give an example. Some people, when you meet them, you can meet them online, look at their page. You can meet them in person. They tell you within a few minutes, I'm a such and such survivor. I survived this. I survived that. Well, how long ago did it happen? 15 years ago, when I was a child. My question is, why do you limit yourself? Why do you define yourself by trauma? What sense does that make? Is your life so devoid of anything else meaningful? Any other dreams, any other hopes, any other aspirations, any other interests? Is your life so devoid of all those things that your whole identity is wrapped up in what happened to you as a kid or what kind of pain or abuse you suffered? Is that all you are? I would say this, that you're hanging on to it. That you feel you have no identity beyond your pain and your past. That's a terrible way to live. Now, I know I'm being insensitive and I'm dismissing people's trauma and I'm not considering the pain they went through. Everybody has gone through pain. Sure, some more severe than others, but everyone has. And there is a time and a place for grieving, for healing, and there's also a time and a place to bury what happened or burn it and spread the ashes somewhere and move on from that and live your life. Some people carry their pain and their past around like a corpse that's decomposing, and they feel that they have to let everyone know, like some badge of honor, that something bad happened to them. I'm not dismissing that. But that wasn't made for you to live the rest of your life out of it. Now, here's the issue. Now, some people, something bad happens to them, and they become an advocate of people that went through similar things. That's totally different. Some people develop a passion for others that went through what they went through. That's something totally different. But other people put it on like the same outfit every day. And when you deal with that person, you have to constantly deal with their past. That is corrosive and poisonous. Now, here's the bad part. When you don't deal with your past, when you don't get past all that nonsense and that garbage, when you don't let that go, you pass that trash on to your children, And the person that you're involved with romantically, they have to deal with that. And you never grow up. And you remain stuck, chained, imprisoned, fettered to, tethered to that particular time in your life when it happened, and you can't grow past that. And you force everyone else connected to you to babysit you at that point of immaturity. I'm not dismissing what you went through. I'm not denying it happened. But I'm telling you, life goes on and you need to do so yourself. You see, when you keep rehearsing trauma, when you don't deal with trauma the right way and process yourself out of it and get it out of your system, you get stuck there. And it interrupts and becomes an obstacle to you ever trying to get in any kind of meaningful relationship. You get triggered by certain thoughts or certain words or certain things you see, and you automatically pack up and leave, and you never, ever, ever grow. Never grow. You remain in prison, and years become decades, and decades go by, and you wasted your life. Now, I'm going to close with the second group. There are some people that they're stuck like this and they're scared. Fear grips them and they're scared to move on. They're scared to get involved or close with anyone. Then they pass their fear on to their children and they're overprotective of their kids and they ruin their kids because they keep them in a bubble all their life. We all know how that goes. But then there are other people, the such and such survivor people that wear it like a badge, right? And they think that because they went through something bad, that they're unique somehow, like nobody else went through anything bad. And they have to let you know every other day what they went through, and they have to rehearse it. And they think that they should somehow go to the front of the emotional line, or they should be given a get out of jail free card when they act all rash and obnoxious and emotional because of what they went through. These people, unfortunately, and I'm going to call it like it is, they love the attention. And they love the ability to use what happened to them as a free pass to act really stupid. Oh, we've all dealt with those kind of people. And some of y'all are some of those kind of people. As soon as someone confronts you about what you said or what you did, you start talking about stepdad, or you start talking about your first wife, or you start talking about what your parents didn't do for you. Listen, nobody is responsible for babysitting you. Nobody is responsible for growing you up and maturing you but you. Stop making the rest of the world deal with your refusal to let go and move on. That is unfair to everybody to have to babysit you and put up with you. Nobody is denying that you were hurt, neglected, abused, done wrong. But just like your body has the ability to heal itself, so do your emotions and your feelings and your mind. It has the ability to be healed. But you can't expect a scab to fade away and heal itself if you keep picking at it every day. Listen, if you can't do it on your own, get some help, get some assistance, talk about it, but get that trash out of your system. Stop carrying around all those corpses and all that trash in your life and making everybody else deal with the aroma that you carry around. That ain't right. Stop defining yourself by your pain. Stop wrapping your identity up in your trauma. You can get past this and you don't have to limit yourself. You don't have to make that your obsession. I've experienced this myself. So I'm talking from my own life. There was something that happened to me when I was a kid for a few years. and I grew to hate this individual, right? And this individual eventually died, you know, when I grew up in my early 20s. But it took an experience for me to be forced into a situation where I had to face myself to realize that even after this person was dead, I still had hate in my heart against this person. Now, that makes absolutely no sense. To hate somebody that's dead. What is my hate doing to that person? It's not sending that person to heaven or putting that person in hell. It's not doing anything. That's how silly you look when you hold on to things. That's how stupid you look when you make your pain your identity, and everything you're about is you're a such and such survivor. Man, everybody has survived something. If you survived something, you overcame something, good. Help somebody else. Stop rehearsing it and stop feeding that grudge. Stop making people deal with your immaturity. Stop making people deal with your past. You deal with that. And you know what you do with dead bodies? You bury them. It's time for you to live your life and be who you were created to be. And stop wrapping yourself up in who you were. Otherwise, you're like an emotional zombie. I'm out.